All right, let's dive right in. Picture this. Center court, Wimbledon. Two players, they've been battling it out for hours, and now it all comes down to one single point. The crowd goes dead silent. The whole world is watching. Absolutely everything is on the line.
I mean, you can just feel that tension, can't you? The sheer weight of that moment. It's got nothing to do with a lack of skill or training. No, it's something else, something that happens inside your head when the pressure becomes just too much. So what is actually going on when we see a champion, someone at the top of their game, suddenly just fall apart? To really get it, we've got to break it down. We're going to look at the anatomy of a choke, really get into what's happening in our brains and our bodies when performance just seems to evaporate into thin air. So here's the textbook definition, but the key thing to grab onto here is the gap between what an athlete can do, their capability, and what they actually do when the pressure is on. It's not that they've forgotten how to do it. It's that in that one critical moment, they just can't seem to access that ability. And look, this isn't just a vague feeling. It's something you can actually measure. Studies have shown that on the most important points of a match, pro tennis players serve, on average, 11% slower. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but that tiny drop in speed is often the difference between winning and losing. It's the physical proof of a mental stumble.
Okay, so we know what it is. But the big question is why? Why does this happen? Well, science has two main competing ideas to explain this whole internal battle. And believe it or not, they're pretty much opposites.
So on one side, you've got distraction theories. These basically say our attention gets hijacked and pulled away from what we're supposed to be doing. But on the other side, you have self-focus theories, which argue the complete opposite, that we start paying way too much attention to things that should be automatic. So what's the real problem? Not focusing enough or focusing way too hard?
Let's tackle distraction first. Think of your attention like it's a spotlight. Normally, that spotlight is aimed right where it needs to be, on the task, on hitting the ball. But according to this theory, anxiety and fear act like this powerful magnet, and they pull that spotlight away from the task and onto the threat. You know, the what if I fail?
So here's what happens. Your brain's short-term memory, the part you're using right now, it just gets completely clogged up with all these what-ifs. Your focus jumps from the target to your fears. And suddenly, your brain can't filter out all the noise anymore, and your movements get hesitant, slow, and unfocused.
Now, let's look at the other side of the coin, the theory of reinvestment. This is that classic paralysis by analysis. You've probably felt this before. It's like if you suddenly started thinking about the mechanics of walking down a flight of stairs. The second you consciously try to control every single step, that's when you're most likely to trip. Just think about an elite tennis serve. It's this beautiful, fluid, unconscious motion that's been built over tens of thousands of hours of practice. But when the pressure hits, the athlete starts thinking, wait, is my elbow high enough? Did I snap my wrist at the right time? All this conscious monitoring completely shatters that automatic chain, and what you get is a stiff, clumsy, robotic motion. Okay, so speaking of what's going on in our heads, let's pivot for a second. Let's talk about a related idea we hear about constantly in sports, something that feels like the exact opposite of choking: psychological momentum. You know, that incredible feeling that you just can't lose? Players, coaches, commentators, they all swear by it. And this quote from a pro player just nails that feeling perfectly. It's seen as this unstoppable wave of success, or, on the flip side, failure. But is it actually real? It definitely feels real, right? When a player wins a few points in a row, we all just expect them to win the next one. But does the data, the actual numbers, back this feeling up? Is there some kind of magical force at play, or is it just our brain trying to find patterns where maybe there aren't any? Well, when you look at the cold, hard stats, the story kind of falls apart. In tennis, winning a point has almost zero effect on your odds of winning the very next one. And even after winning an entire set, a player only has about a 50-50 shot of winning the very next game. This is what's known as the famous hot hand fallacy. We see a streak, and our brain automatically assumes it's going to continue, even when the events are basically random. So momentum feels powerful, for sure, but it's not some physical force. So if choking is very real, and momentum is mostly a myth, how in the world do the best athletes on the planet manage to perform when it matters most? Let's shift gears now, from the problem to the solutions. Top performers, they build a kind of mental armor against pressure. First, they create a ritual. You know, that familiar routine of bouncing the ball a few times. That's not just for show. It anchors them in the present moment and helps shut out the noise.
Second, they focus externally. They direct their attention away from their own thoughts and onto a simple outside target. And third, they get used to the feeling of pressure in training, so it's not a huge shock on game day.
Now get this, here is a fascinating and really practical trick from some recent research. Just squeezing the racket handle with different amounts of pressure right before serving can act as a cognitive distraction. It basically gives that overthinking part of your brain a simple little job to do, which frees up your body to execute the serve automatically, the way it was trained to. It's a brilliant little hack to fight off that paralysis by analysis.
And the great thing here is you don't have to be a professional athlete to use these tools. Let's take these elite strategies and translate them into a toolkit that you can use in your own high-stakes moments.
So here's how you can actually apply this stuff. Before a big presentation, have a routine. When you start to feel anxious, focus on something outside of yourself, like a spot on the far wall, not on your racing heart. Try to reframe those butterflies in your stomach as your body just getting ready for action. And maybe most importantly, when the moment comes, just trust the work you've put in. Keep it simple and let it fly.
So we've seen how athletes face down their biggest moments. Now I want you to think about yours. Maybe it's a job interview, a difficult conversation, or even giving a speech. The pressure is coming. The only question left is what's going to be in your toolkit when it arrives.